For Red Bull team members, working with a serial winner like Max Verstappen can be fun, but on the flip side, it comes with a lot of responsibilities and intense pressure. And perhaps that explains why one race engineer says he's afraid of what Max might do to him in the future, and why a top executive bet $550 against the Dutch driver. From Gianpiero Lambiase to Adrian, Newey and Christian Horner, here's what the Red Bull team members think of Max Verstappen. At the beginning of Verstappen's F1 career, Blake Hinsey worked as a performance engineer, following the Dutchman from his baby steps as a Toro Rosso driver to his magnificent debut with Red Bull. The partnership ended abruptly in 2017 when Blake resigned from his role, claiming it was no longer as challenging as he would have liked. Unfortunately, Blake didn't stick around long enough to be part of the success era that has seen Max Verstappen win 3 consecutive titles. However, he has fond memories of working with the Dutch racer, and that's something that would stay with him forever. I'll be honest, I like working with him, Blake told Sky Sports F1 podcast. He was probably one of the easiest drivers I had to work with. The communication loop was super tight. A lot of it was non-verbal. I'd look through the data at night, have a chat with him, before he left Friday night. While Blake's comment portrayed Verstappen in a good light, it also exposed the blunt communication style the Dutch racer is known for. One man who knows this better than anyone else is Red Bull's chief designer Adrian Newey. Due to his role in the team, Newey has had plenty of interactions with Verstappen, and contrary to what the media would have you believe, the former McLaren designer says he doesn't have a hard time working with Verstappen. He's a very easy driver to work with, Newey said in an interview with Autosport. He's demanding, of course, absolutely, but his feedback is good. It's not overcomplicated. He knows how to express what he wants out of the car. Beyond their relationship in the paddock, Newey admires Max's talent and believes that he's one of the greatest drivers in F1 history. I think Max, like all the truly great drivers, you have the impression that he can drive the car almost subconsciously, Newey said. And that then leaves him with plenty of processing power to think about what the car is doing. So that kind of ability to drive the car extremely quickly but still have constant reserve is something that Max clearly has, and I would say that all the truly greats I've worked with also have been the same. To receive such high praises from Adrian Newey must be really pleasing for Verstappen. But Newey is not the only Red Bull member who thinks Verstappen is one of the greatest drivers in F1 history. In fact, this belief runs through the entire Red Bull garage, all the way from the mechanics to top executives like team boss Christian Horner. Speaking to CNN's Amanda Davies ahead of the 2023 Qatar Grand Prix, Horner praised Verstappen to the highest heavens, saying the Dutch racer belongs in the same bracket as some of the greatest the sport has ever seen. I think that obviously includes Lewis Hamilton, it includes Michael Schumacher, it includes Ayrton Senna, it includes all the other greats, Horner explained. I think you can now talk about him in the same sentence as those kinds of icons of the sport. Some people may have a different opinion, and that's totally fine. But with the way Verstappen has performed in the last 3 seasons and the potential of what he could go on to achieve, you cannot help but agree with Christian Horner. Speaking further during the interview, the British executive reveals 2 qualities that he admires most in Verstappen. I just think the self-belief, the self-confidence he has in himself to go out and nail it, to go out and deliver, Horner said. That's his makeup, and I think he is the most competitive driver that I've ever met. I think the determination that he drives with, the passion, the heart, the commitment, and of course the abundance of skill that he has. Seeing these qualities firsthand, Horner has learned to never doubt Verstappen even when the odds are stacked against him. However, another Red Bull top executive got to learn this the hard way and will reveal his name in a bit. But before then, don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel to get all the updates about Verstappen and the Red Bull team as they come in. Nowadays, Helmut Marko and Christian Horner reportedly don't see each other face to face. But as recently as December 2023, those two were best buddies who exchanged ideas and led Red Bull to an unprecedented season. Their jobs were relatively made easy by the poor showing of other teams. However, ahead of the qualifying session at the 2023 Abu Dhabi Grand Prix, these 2 experienced heads were made to sweat for their wages, and one of them lost some of his in the process. It all started during the final practice session where Verstappen struggled badly. In fact, his RB19 was so awful on that day that Max described it as a shitbox. Having watched the show of horror, Red Bull team advisor Helmut Marko watered down his expectations, predicting that Verstappen's best finish in the qualifying round would be the second row. However, team boss Christian Horner countered their prediction, saying Max would finish on the front row. so both men decided to put their money where their mouth was to the tune of $550. Surprisingly, Max Verstappen claimed his 12th pole position of the season, earning Christian Horner some extra bucks on top of his $10 million annual salary. Certainly not bad profit for a one-time side hustle that lasted just 1 minute and 23 seconds. Speaking after the qualifying session, Marko narrated how the bet came about. Christian said front row and I said no, second row. I lost it, but I'm very happy that our engineers did a fantastic job to make the right adjustments and also that Max in the end delivered. I should have known Max. When asked about the wager, Verstappen said that Marko had learned his lesson not to bet against him. Beyond this light-hearted banter, Helmut Marko is a huge fan of Verstappen and the two men get along really well. Speaking in an interview, the Red Bull team advisor recalls his first meeting with Verstappen and how it was obvious that the Dutchman was destined to do great things in F1. The first actual contact was here in 2014. Normally, I talk to a young rider for 20-30 minutes. Max. And with him, the discussion lasted almost 2 hours, Marko said. What was crucial was the commitment. That was what you noticed. He is fully focused on his racing career, and the very clear goal for him at the time was F1. There was no doubt that he would achieve this. Reading this headline, one would have thought an epic battle was brewing between Gianpiero Lambiase and Verstappen, but that's not the case. Lambiase has served as Verstappen's race engineer ever since the star racer made his Red Bull debut at the 2016 Spanish Grand Prix. And while their partnership has been very successful, both men have had a few ups and downs, and more significantly, several heated exchanges over the radio. Now, both Lambiase and Verstappen have said many times that those fierce exchanges are just in the heat of the moment. But of course, the media have always tried to twist the narrative as if there was some sort of beef between them. So during an interview on the Oracle Red Bull Racing podcast, the race engineer decided to play along, saying, "My biggest fear is the moment that we do have increased competition and we're not winning every race, because you see how he's treating me at the moment, and he's winning every race." Verstappen, who was seated right next to Lambiase, got the joke and they both shared a laugh, as they most often do after their intense conversations during races. But as the interview continued, Lambiase shared some insights into his relationship with Verstappen, and this time he wasn't joking. Considering how Verstappen is often portrayed as a villain by the media, it's refreshing to see that most people on the Red Bull team think highly of him. Well, over to you now. Do you think the relationship between Max Verstappen and the Red Bull team is as solid as it looks from the outside? Let us know in the comments section below.